Hello and welcome to Wrestler Spotlight. I am the Maritime Warrior, and today we got a very special episode with a very special guest. You might know him from a few different things. JoelteonPlays, the original home of Wrestling with the Bros, and Wrestling with the Bros. I got JoelteonPlays, Joel Gallant. How's it going, brother?
Doing fantastic. Today's my day off, so I really enjoyed that today. But yeah, looking forward to doing this episode with you.
Absolutely. I know two things about Joel. His two favorite wrestlers are Eddie Guerrero and CM Punk. And CM Punk has been a hot topic lately. So I'm sure we're going to get Joel on the Maritime Warriors again for the Eddie Guerrero episode. But today we are talking CM Punk. So CM Punk got his start in 1997. Did you know that? I always heard 99.
I always heard 99 too. So yeah, I didn't know that until we right before we recorded this, and you let me know.
Yeah, wrestled for Lunatic Wrestling Federation, was their Intercontinental Champion. Probably the first time he got like big publicity would have been in IWA Mid-South when he feuded with Chris Hero. Remember that?
Oh yeah, those. Having the CM Punk Best in the World DVD from WWE, obviously there's some early stuff like that on there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he had great feuds with Chris Hero, and then all the promoters around, the US wanted to book that feud.
Yeah, didn't they have like a hour and a half match in one of the IWA Mid-Souths?
Yeah, something along the lines of that. Yeah, it was quite a long match.
There's an argument to be made that feud right there put Chris Hero and CM Punk on the map. We could get into the origin of the CM Punk name, which is always a fun one. So, according to Joel, what does CM stand for?
Crooked Moonsault Punk.
Yeah.
Chick Magnet Punk, obviously, the original, but
Charles Montgomery Punk.
Yeah, it's so fun hearing stories about what people think it's actually meant as.
Crooked Moonsault, I think, was always my favorite.
Yeah, because his moonsault was a little crooked.
It was, and I think he used that as a finisher for a small while. But in 2002, he joins TNA Wrestling for, I'm not going to say a full year, but he was there in 2002 and 2003. He was part of the Gathering with Raven, Julio De Niro, and Alexis LeRae, who was the future Mickey James, would turn heel. They would feud with Raven. Not much there. That's the first time I saw CM Punk. Is this the first time you saw Punk?
Yes, it was, actually. Punk's feud with Raven in TNA is where I got hooked on the idea of CM Punk.
Yeah. Punk was special. You could tell that Punk was special early on. Like, everybody was tan and had a shaved head back then. CM Punk was full of tattoos, long hair. He wore like boxing shorts to the ring, and he had a hoodie. He had the taped fist and all that. Punk was special right from the get-go. He would be remembered after that for Ring of Honor. Now, this is where we're going to get deep dive into Ring of Honor, because the first thing he's remembered for in Ring of Honor is that continuation with that Raven feud. How important was Raven to CM Punk's career?
He was extremely important to Punk's career. It's almost the first person that took Punk under his wing and showed him how the big leagues work. Yeah.
Because Raven had been everywhere. ECW, he was in the WWF, he was in WCW, had done the territories at the tail end of the territories, did Portland and Memphis and Global Wrestling Federation. But having that experience must have been one of the biggest things for CM Punk. I know one thing that I don't have in my notes, and I know that you know this personally. CM Punk had a few fantastic matches on the independent circuit with Eddie Guerrero.
Yes. The most memorable one to me is the triple threat, including Rey Mysterio.
Which I believe, wasn't Eddie the Intercontinental Champion at that time? It's like one of those weird things. One of those weird things where the WWF actually let them use their talent. But I believe he was already booked.
Yeah, and then obviously stuff happens, and you still have to let them do their bookings unless you want to be a complete asshole.
Yeah, but in Ring of Honor, back to Ring of Honor. Around this time period, there's a lot of legendary stables being formed. One of those stables is CM Punk, Colt Cabana, and Ace Steel, the Second City Saints. What are your memories of the Second City Saints?
Oh, man. Obviously, this was the start of a great friendship that ended kind of badly.
Kind of.
For one of the members. I'm sure, bygones would be bygones by some point in the future, but they did some great work together.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on. In Ring of Honor, Colt Cabana and CM Punk, they're 2 times Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, and they feuded with the Briscoe brothers. One of, quite possibly, in the 2000s, I think there's a case for 2 teams as the best tag teams of the decade. TNA's America's Most Wanted and Ring of Honor's Briscoe brothers. This is like, Briscoe brothers are like in their early 20s, and they're feuding with Punk and Cabana and having these banger matches. Like, with Punk having wrestled Eddie Guerrero, wrestled Raven, been all over the world, the Briscoes must have learned something from Punk during these feuds.
Yeah, like, I'm sure Punk learned, a lot of stuff from Raven and Guerrero and even Mysterio, even though it was, I think, just one match. But and the Briscoes, yeah, I agree. Out of the 2000s era, it's one of the greatest tag teams. Rest in peace, Jay.
Yeah, one of our first videos was a Jay Briscoe video.
Yeah, we still have yet to do the Bray Wyatt one, but
yeah. But the Second City Saints, their time as tag team champions would come to an end, and Punk would only go higher from there. We mentioned his feud with Chris Hero got him on the map. What got the eyeballs on CM Punk and Samoa Joe is their trilogy in Ring of Honor for the world title. We've seen it, me and you both. We'd sit in your house and watch these for hours long because they were hours long. Yep. The first 2 matches were hour time limit draws, and the third one, finally, Punk got the win. Joe got the win. My apologies. It solidified Joe as one of the biggest names in Ring of Honor history. Could they have pulled the trigger on Punk there, though?
I believe they could. Like you said, those matches were, not many people during this era did hour-long matches.
No.
You've had it in the 80s and 90s. You have it, I think we've had a few in the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But during this time period, no one was doing hour-long matches, let alone doing a trilogy.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the hour-long time limit, or the hour-long match, I should say, was really a house show gimmick for a long time. Like, you'll hear Ric Flair say, I'd go an hour and a half with Barry Windham on house shows. They're tough to do. They're tough to do because you wrestle 5 minutes and then you're in a rest hold for 5 minutes. The match can get really boring. Joe and Punk, at this time period, Ring of Honor is so fucking hot. And these are the 2 biggest unsigned names. Like, these 2 are going to be special. How special, we didn't know. But I have to agree with you where watching this, like, this is around the time I started watching Ring of Honor. And my thought was, they have to do the switch. They have to have Punk win the belt. And they didn't. Joe kept it. He kept it for a little while longer, too. I don't think it hurt Punk. But, like, let me ask you a question. What would have been better? Punk winning the belt from Joe, or Austin Aries, who ended up winning the belt from Joe? Like, one of these stars are bigger than the other.
Looking at the full picture, I believe Austin Aries was the right choice just because of what would happen later on. Punk wouldn't have been a bad choice as champion, with his matches against Samoa Joe. But yeah. I believe there was a better story to be told.
Yes. I think Punk would almost fit the role of a Tommy Dreamer, because Dreamer, you've heard him say it, I never wanted to be ECW champion just because that wasn't my role. I think Punk fit that role, and I think Punk was going to go his entire Ring of Honor career without winning the belt. But then after that, we did get CM Punk as champion because he was signing with WWE, and we get the Summer of Punk.
Yes.
Which was, I believe Punk was only champion for he beat Austin Aries for the belt, the guy that beat Joe, and Punk was only champion for 55 days, a little over a month. But what he did in that 55 days, it made the CM Punk character, not just in Ring of Honor, but in WWE and in AEW later on. This created, me and you have always said that a wrestler starting is a blank canvas. What's he going to be? This was the brush strokes on the CM Punk career. It was his formula. You would see that in WWE. The signing the contract on the belt. Pete Dunne used that years later. Yeah. Punk was an innovator. But the Summer of Punk.
The Summer of Punk was, it set foot for what we would see eventually in WWE and even in AEW, like you just said. Mm-hmm. Very short, but it's called the Summer of Punk for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's unfortunate that I don't know. There seems to be an incompletion for me with CM Punk in Ring of Honor, because this guy, he had the look, he had the charisma, he had the ability that he could have been a lengthy world champion, and especially as a heel. He beats Samoa Joe, and he uses, let's just say he beats Samoa Joe, but he uses a low blow and then hits his, I don't even know what he was using as a finish back then. It wasn't the GTS, might have been the Pepsi Plunge or the Pepsi Twist.
Pepsi Plunge, I believe, yeah.
Which is the top rope pedigree. So, Joe's going for a superplex, a low blow, Pepsi Plunge, 1, 2, 3. The crowd is pissed off. You end this reign. I don't know. CM Punk in Ring of Honor always felt incomplete for me, but at least he got the world title. He got that moment. He would not stay heel long. He would have his final match in Ring of Honor versus Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana and CM Punk, tag team partners, rivals, friends, enemies. You've mentioned it earlier. Will we ever see them talk again? What are your personal thoughts on this whole mess? We're going to talk about the interview later, but just quickly.
Stuff happens in life where friends, stop talking. It's happened to us. There was a few years where we didn't talk and stuff. And
it's a regretful thing where, you kick yourself later on, and, you don't want to be childish, but it happens. It happens. If you're big enough to become friends again, that's a positive. But this one, it seems, oof.
Well, this one's definitely a lot different from us.
Yeah.
This one got very messy.
When money's involved, it's always messy.
Yeah, definitely.
Colt Cabana, just quickly, your thoughts on him as a performer and as a person, I guess.
Colt Cabana as a performer, I've seen him wrestle here in Moncton. He's a great comedy wrestler.
Yeah.
To me, that's his spot in any company. I wouldn't see him as a world champion. I don't even think I'd see him as a great secondary champion.
I tend to agree with you there. The NWA put their world title on him twice. So yeah. Cabana is technically a former world champion, but as a tag team guy, as maybe I look at Colt Cabana and I think of the hardcore title or the 24/7 title. I'd see that as his ceiling.
Yeah, maybe with all the titles, AEW / Ring of Honor have, he could win one of those easily. They just hand those out like hotcakes. So.
Yeah, maybe a trios title or something. I haven't even seen him wrestle in God knows how long, but my opinion on Colt Cabana is I think I'm just gonna steal the words right out of your mouth. Just comedy guy, just a comedy guy. In his early career with the Second City Saints, he was less comedy, but at the same time, you do what works with you. Like if comedy's going to work with you, you look at Danhausen. Danhausen said the same thing. I had the look, I had everything. I could do a good moonsault, but everybody could do a good moonsault. I put face paint on and grabbed the jarred teeth, and that worked.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a spot in companies for, the comedy wrestlers.
Absolutely. Comedy works. If you don't believe me, go look at DDT. All they do is comedy. Comedy is key there. I'm going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about OVW. This is one of the companies where I don't really know a lot about because OVW was the developmental, and I don't know, it was just, I know Punk was their OVW heavyweight champion, which weirdly enough is now their secondary title. Do you know this?
No,
their top title is the national title.
Okay.
So, yeah. But OVW was the champion there. I think it was their TV champion as well. But we really started to see Punk was in ECW. In the original, well, not the original, the WWECW. What are your thoughts about first time seeing him there? Because we did see CM Punk in Moncton. I don't think he was with ECW at the time. I believe he had the briefcase. But, for a good year there, he was the future of this business.
Yeah, early Punk in WWE. I still remember first seeing the first video package for CM Punk coming to ECW. This is around the time we actually started being friends in high school.
I think yeah. Because Punk debuted the year I graduated, 2007. So I think we had been friends for maybe a year or two already. And we were talking wrestling a lot. But I remember I'm straight edge. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I remember the first thing they had him do is go to Shannon Moore, I think it was. He's like, "You're nothing but a poser." And he slaps him across the face. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. But he is supposed to challenge for the ECW title against Chris Benoit. And that doesn't happen. The unfortunate Chris Benoit incident happens. He takes on Johnny Nitro, and Nitro wins the belt. And he starts feuding with Nitro. I always felt this was an underrated feud.
Was he Johnny Nitro? That's what he was going by.
I think he was Nitro at that time. Or no, he was Nitro, and when he won the belt, he turned to Morrison.
Yeah,
so he was John Morrison. But yeah.
Great character, by the way.
Great character. Technically his only world title in WWE. Thoughts on this feud?
I loved it. Adding the whole stipulation, especially in the last match where if Punk didn't win, he couldn't challenge for the belt anymore.
Yeah.
I always love those little stipulations like that.
Yeah.
But Punk's a great worker. Morrison was a great worker.
Yeah.
They just gelled really well together.
Yeah, I've always been so surprised that The Miz is the guy that they pushed and not Morrison. Like, there has to be something that Morrison did. He must have shit in someone's cornflakes or something. Because the talent this guy had, and this was his ceiling, the ECW title.
I believe I know why Morrison didn't get pushed more, but
I have a feeling too. His better half, yes. I don't think. No, of course he's not with her. He's married with Taya now. He was with Melina for many years, and
she started. She got with Batista during, and that's where the whole how big Batista's dick started.
Is that how it is?
Yes.
Oh man, I had no clue that's how it started, but that's funny. Shout out to Sean Oliver, I guess. Punk wins the ECW World Title. And he had it for like 150 something days. I wish I had the number in front of me, but during this point in time, that's a long reign. That's a very long reign, because usually you get like the 3-month run. I used to say you get the belt for 91 days, 80 days, something like that. Punk got it for, I believe it was like 153 days, 52 days, something like that, which was really, really a good reign. There were 3 brands. ECW was one of those brands, but ECW was clearly the 3rd brand.
It was the NXT.
Exactly. He wins Money in the Bank for the first time. This is where you really start to think, okay, maybe they're going to push him, but there was always this start and stop with CM Punk. You want to talk to us about that?
There was. During his 2 Money in the Bank wins, they gave him the world title both times. Mm-hmm. And I believe they only gave him a world title both times to be like, oh, here's the title because we know you deserve it, but you're not going to hold it long and we're going to take it away from you very shortly.
I think his first reign was like around 2 months. And I always remember he didn't even lose it. He got attacked by Randy Orton and Legacy. And Jericho took his spot in the 6-pack challenge, I believe it was. And Jericho wins the belt in a match that he wasn't even supposed to be in.
Yeah.
So, how much respect you have for Punk there. Now CM Punk's in WWE. We'll get to him now in WWE later on. But there was always this awkward tension between WWE and CM Punk. Whereas this guy is the best in the world right now. But WWE's like, nah. We got John Cena. We got Randy Orton. I always remember they wanted a tattooed wrestler. And they wanted CM Punk. And the WWE's like, no. Randy Orton's the one that has tattoos. This is the guy you want. He's a real superstar. And they were like, no, we want Punk. No. You want Randy Orton. So those stories like that you hear all the time is like, the fuck. But you mentioned his Money in the Bank cash in. The pop he gets when he cashes in on Edge, on Raw. Remember that one?
Oh, it's huge. Not the biggest for a cash in, obviously.
No.
But it's definitely better than some of them for sure.
By the time Punk got the briefcase, the Money in the Bank was maybe like 5 years old, maybe a little less. And they had done the cash-ins already. Like, the big ones that hadn't been done yet was WrestleMania and the night after WrestleMania. But Punk cashing in on Edge made all the sense in the world. Batista comes out, lays out Edge. Here comes CM Punk. And CM Punk, the rules were still weird because Punk was an ECW guy. He's cashing in on Raw.
Yep.
So those explain some of the rules. It can be anywhere. Not just ECW, not just WWE, Raw or SmackDown, anywhere. So, like I said, he drops the belt without even getting pinned. We get CM Punk as a heel after that.
Yes.
I believe he cashes in on Jeff Hardy, right?
Was it Jeff?
Believe it was Jeff. Yeah, it was Jeff. It was after a match with, I believe it was Edge.
I thought he cashed in on Edge twice.
No, I think the other one was Jeff, because Punk was a babyface, and cashing in on Jeff made him the heel, because Jeff
that makes sense.
Yeah, because Jeff beat Edge and immediately dropped the belt to Punk. Punk dropped back the belt to Jeff, who dropped it back to Punk. And then when Punk successfully defended the belt, that's when he started his feud with The Undertaker.
Yep.
Remember, Jeff was in the ring and Punk had the belt over his head. Lights go out, and then Undertaker's between his legs. Oof, not on. I can think of better things to do on a Sunday night. But your thoughts on his heel turn and his feud with both Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker?
His feud with Jeff was where we really saw how good of a heel Punk could be, because he would use Jeff's past and drug addictions, and he would really dig into that type of stuff, and we would get like an early view of what the straight edge society could be.
Yeah. When Jeff left the WWE, I don't remember if he got fired or he left on his own, but they play Jeff Hardy's music, and here comes CM Punk dressed up like Jeff Hardy. Just the heat that gets. You know, I've always said we've been close with a few Maritime wrestlers. Some of these guys just have the it factor. What is the it factor? I don't know, but they have it. Another guy that had it was CM Punk. He knew to strike when it was hot. And people love Jeff Hardy. You get cheap heat on Jeff Hardy, who cares? You're getting heat on Jeff Hardy. Beloved babyface. I know it's why I never got why TNA turned Jeff Hardy heel. He's not a heel. People want it's like Kerry Von Erich. You could have never turned Kerry Von Erich heel. People love Kerry Von Erich. But then you put him in the ring with The Undertaker. And you have two different styles, two different personalities. For whatever reason, it worked. It worked really well. They matched well together. Thoughts on that?
I loved Punk and Taker's feud. This early feud, I should say.
This early. We'll get back to them in a bit, but you know, for the world title.
Yeah, they gelled really well together. I know I'm going to use that a lot, but that's a word I like using. But two opposing styles, most of the time they work well together.
Mm-hmm. It was almost used as a great feud, but the end result was put the world heavyweight title on Taker, and Punk will find something for you after. What they found was the straight edge society. Probably one of the most underrated and underappreciated factions in the history of wrestling, not just WWE. This was absolute gold. He brings in Joey Mercury, Luke Gallows, and Serena Deeb. This was the straight edge society. They shaved Serena's head. His feud with Rey Mysterio.
He cured Festus from his drug addiction.
So they, you know, it's one of those things where I look at Malachi Black and his attention to detail. He got that from Punk. He got that from watching CM Punk, you know, with the eye thing, and even going to TNA, he's still wearing a contact lens because of his injured eye. You know, curing Festus. And it's like taking that stupid storyline and making it seem normal. You know, that's an art form right there. And that's CM Punk in a nutshell right there. His feud with Rey Mysterio. Mega heel, singing Happy Birthday to Aaliyah. Your thoughts on this one?
This was incredible. This is where we really got to see heel Punk shine and do what he can do. Obviously, just like Jeff, Rey Mysterio is a huge baby face, which should never be turned heel.
Exactly.
And it's a great way to get some heat. Trying to think of the word right now, but like not attacking, but yeah, the singing the Happy Birthday to Aaliyah. What a good way. It's more just heat to get on him.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where you watch that and it almost makes you feel uncomfortable because it's a little girl. Like we saw Aaliyah years later, all grown up. I believe she was in a love angle with Buddy Murphy. Buddy Matthews now in AEW. But during that point in time, and she played her part well, she's like hiding her face from Punk. This culminated in a hair versus mask match, which we got a bald Punk. So him and Dave Boyce have something in common.
Yes, except it wasn't a hair versus mask for Dave Boyce. It was a hair versus hair.
Yeah.
But this is where Punk would come out with a mask on afterwards, funny enough.
LCM Punk. You know, another underrated thing where it's like as a character, CM Punk always seems to one-up the crowd. It's like, I lost my hair. Oh, wait, I got a mask on. Because it had been done before, where a wrestler gets his head shaved, and he comes out with the headgear and a wig on it to keep the wig there. Kurt Angle did it. Kurt Angle's probably the best that did it. Big Show did it. With this one coming out with a luchador mask, tying it into Rey Mysterio was brilliant. Didn't last very long